Welcome to East Coast Averages, the podcast that brings you stories from everyday people from all around the world. Recorded on the east coast of Australia, I'm your host Nick, and each week we'll sit down with average people who have unique stories to tell. Let's peek over the back fence and see what's happening in other people's lives. I never know what I'm going to discover until I sit down and start chatting to them. Today's show, I'll be talking to a young lady who at 12 years of age was diagnosed with leukemia, every family's nightmare. Today, she talks about how she felt when she found out the diagnosis, how she felt when it was first diagnosed through all the treatment, and how she feels now on the other side of it. I'm constantly amazed at how positive she remained throughout the ordeal, and I hope you enjoy listening to her story. Let's introduce Izzy. Izzy is the youngest guest on the show. She's 18 years old, and I've known her since she was born. I've met her when she was the itty bitty baby. And she's pretty much grown up around our place. She has a pretty good story to tell, and we're going to find out what's going on in her life today. So how are you, Izzy?
Good.
Welcome to the show.
Good, thank you.
So what's your story, mate? Tell me about the life and times of Izzy.
Well, we'll start again.
We'll
We'll
go over the... I was born in the Blue Mountains. I went to school in the Blue Mountains for the fifth fucking time, Nick. All right? Get it right, man.
So... grew up in the Blue Mountains. Everything I've ever known is the Blue Mountains, and all my friends live up here.
So you're a Westie Bogan from the Blue Mountains?
Yep, a sheltered child that was wrapped in bubble wrap whenever she went into Penrith or just anywhere in the city in general.
So it's Blue Mountains. And you said before that you tell everyone that you're fucking sick of the Blue Mountains and you want to get out?
Yeah, that's the plan. It was that I was going to move to Melbourne because...
Melbourne?
Yeah, because I love the city and the city life, because up here there's a pub.
That's it?
Yeah.
When did you go to Melbourne and get your love for Melbourne?
Well, I hadn't gone to Melbourne, and then I found it really interests me. I didn't like the idea of Queensland because too beachy and whatever.
Yep.
And Darwin is... yeah.
Too hot.
Yeah, too hot.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time in Darwin, and I have to say the fucking humidity up there is
it's terrible.
It's a no-brainer. It's not my bag, baby, that's for sure.
Yeah, no. And then I went to Melbourne, and then I just fell in love with the artistry, I guess you could call it.
The culture.
Yeah.
The artistry. Yeah, I went to Melbourne and I fell in love with the artistry.
Yeah.
And the culture of Melbourne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just knowing everyone and everyone that knows you, and being in uni now and going down and meeting new people.
But also your dad grew up in the Blue Mountains.
Lived here his whole life.
And he's grown up in the same street.
Yeah, pretty much.
You were born in.
He moved out once.
Yeah, he moved out once.
But it was in the same suburb.
So when you say everybody knows you in the Blue Mountains, because of your dad and everyone he knows in the Blue Mountains, because he worked in that shop and then he installed stuff in, and so everybody knows you.
Yeah, literally. Pretty much. It's family. Like whenever we go out to...
But I'm the favourite.
Oh, yeah.
Family friend.
100%.
My little family is the favourite.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I literally grew up here.
All the other people, don't get jealous, all right?
Yeah.
We're the favourite. This is where she comes to relax.
Yep. Okay. This is the zen.
This is the zen. So let's head back to school or through the mountains.
Yeah. So primary school was just the local public school. And that was kind of the
same
beginning.
Public school my kids do.
Yeah. And that's obviously how everything got so close. And then I remember begging my parents to let me move schools because I just wanted, I think there was part of me that was like, I just wanted to change the scenery or something. Yeah. Had primary school was the same. And then we went through a bit of a kerfuffle when it was changing over to high school because everyone was wanting to go to the one high school that everyone wanted to be at because that's where all my friends were going.
Yeah.
And then my parents wanted me to go to a different school, which I didn't want to go to because it was...
I do remember that, but I can't remember the name of the school, but we won't mention them.
It was a private school and I didn't like the aura because I I like to call myself an athlete when I was in primary school, and they didn't exactly cater for my athleting, and so
athletic. I don't think that's a word. Is it?
I don't know. And then
maybe if you went to the private system, you'd know what athleting.
Yeah,
wasn't a word.
Yeah.
But we digress. We shouldn't bag out the public school system.
No.
Yeah.
And then so it was only 2 schools that were on the table, and then another one that I wanted to go to was hard because it was a selective school. So we ended up settling on a private Catholic college, which I was there for about, didn't even make it through term 1. And then I got sick.
Yeah, we're not getting to the sickness yet.
Sorry.
Just jumping ahead.
Slow it down. We'll
slow down.
Okay.
Easy. Slow. We've got all afternoon to chat.
Okay.
Got to make this a 2-parter, mate.
All right. I'm trying to think back then.
Think back. So you're 18, right? You're in the Blue Mountains.
Yep.
And you've gone through school in here. Now, when you left year 6 and you were talking to your parents about wanting to go to a particular school and they were just adamant you weren't going there, did that just like piss you off?
Yeah, no.
Did you sit in your room and think, oh, fuck.
That's what it was, and it was that.
And I'm not saying that to bag your parents.
No.
I'm just trying to get the point of view of a 12-year-old young girl
now
who's just been told you can't go where your mates are going.
Yeah, no. Now that I look back at it, like primary school, like all I ever knew was my friends, and that was well beyond the maturity of whatever had soaked in. And so it was just 12-year-old me that all my life was just my friends. And they were all going to this one school, and the school that my parents wanted me to go to, I knew no one. Yeah. And so I think it was just the fear of going somewhere where I didn't know anyone. And I had grown up in this primary school, met all these friends, and I had my closest of friends. And then they just turned around and said, well, you're not going with them.
Oh, for God's sake. This is fucking amateur hour, isn't it? This is East Coast. Now, you know what?
This is amazing.
This is East Coast averages, man.
This is what it is.
Average Joe, fucking Nikki J talking to average people.
No special phone booths.
No special phone booths. Can't afford acoustic curtains in the room that I record in. Everything fucking echoes a bit. Makes it really hard to fucking edit.
But you know what?
Doesn't
even matter.
Who fucking cares, eh?
Doesn't even matter.
Now, till the dog barked, I was going to ask you something. Now, so most 12-year-olds, they're friends of their world.
Yeah.
Their family at home and their friends are their world. And I remember when I moved up the Blue Mountains when I was 12, and my dad said to us, let's move to the Blue Mountains. Look, it's amateur hour, but don't kick the table.
I know, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. They're pretty thick.
That's it, you're off! Fucking podcast is cancelled. You're banned. Now, when I moved up to Springwood from Sydney, I remember my mum and dad saying, we're just going to go to the Blue Mountains for a visit. And then we spent fucking all day looking at bloody real estate, fucking blocks of land. And then we'd spend, the amount of times you're going through those display home joints.
Oh, my God.
So we move up here, right?
Yeah.
Fucking a week before my 13th birthday. And I remember walking into the high school. I went to Springwood High.
Yeah.
And sitting in a maths class, and I thought, the fucking world is fucked.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I sort of get that.
Yeah.
And it's difficult to see, I suppose, that your parents are doing what they think's right for you.
Yeah.
It's from a good place. But as a 12-year-old, you're thinking, fuck that.
Yeah, no, that's what it was. It was like,
you're ruining my life, man.
Yeah. It was
How dare you?
They're taking me away from their friend, like my friends. And like I remember in primary school, there was this one street that all my friends lived on. And I remember begging my parents to move houses. They're like, we can move on to it. I can be close to them or whatever. And it was like, back then it was just, it was thought as that it was easy just to do shit like that.
Are you still friends with any of those people?
One. Or 2, including your rat bag son. Yeah, no, I'm only friends.
And if you haven't listened to a Max and Me episode, have a listen to the Max and Me episode's back catalogue, East Coast Averages, on Spotify. Be sure to fucking rate. Be sure to rate, follow, and fucking leave a good review if you like it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Max, the rat bag.
Yeah, no. So I'm only friends about 2 people. There's a couple. Actually, no, I lie. There's not 2. There's about 4, but there's only about 3 that I really talk to a lot. 1 because I went to high school with him. 2 that I went to high school with. And they've both just stuck with me. But everyone else we've all gone our separate ways.
Yeah, look, I've got one friend that I met in school that I still talk to. And I guess that's pretty. So looking back now, it's only 6 years, and the difference between 12-year-old Izzy and 18-year-old Izzy is obviously like the change in people's both development mentally and physically in that 6 years is such a fucking big change.
Yeah, no, like.
And do you reckon you look back at that and you can see why your parents made that decision?
Yeah, like I can see like two
and
points of view.
It kills you. So
yeah,
because
they were right.
And you think, oh fuck, I don't want to admit that shit.
Because I look and I'm like, I would be such a different person. Either the outcome, no matter what school I had gone to. I feel that the way that you turn out as an adult it reflects a lot on how I reckon your education went. So like depending on if you've gone through full term for your education, if you've decided a different pathway than going through and getting your HSC, or just genuinely the school that you're in, I feel that changes who like you turn out to be post school.
Yep. And when you leave school, you realise that school's quite a little part of the whole wide world.
And I miss it. Like,
yeah, see, I don't.
I
fucking don't miss school at all.
I miss it partially because it was something for me to do during the week. Now I've completely bunched my week up and I'm busy. I just miss the busyness. But I think it was just the social side of things that I really enjoyed, that going to school and knowing that you'd see your friends and then being upset that one particular friend wasn't there and you didn't know what to do with your life.
Yeah, like that was the end of the world. And with phones these days, you knew that friend wasn't going to be there. So, and I might have had this conversation with a young lady that lives in my house that says, oh, such and such is not going to be at school today.
Can I not? I don't want to go.
I don't want to go. Yeah. Oh, it's like life is going to suck so bad today. I can't get through today without.
That's what it was. And I even still dread now that I'm at uni. Like I have such a small little group of friends and I'm like, if one leaves, like if one has a day off, I'm like, that's because I have to travel all the way from up here and they all live down in the city.
Yeah, I was going to say that group of friends are people from outside of Blue Mountains.
Yeah, they all live down in the city. And then like having a day off for uni for them is so simple. And it's like if I get sick while I'm down at uni, it's not like I can simply turn around and go, I got to go home because it's like an hour and a half
on the train
trip back. So I'm like, I better just thug it out and get better down.
And I suppose if you're in Sydney and you decide to ditch the first lecture, I suppose, and then you think, oh fuck, I probably should go, you can always just jump on the bus and you're at uni for the second lecture, sort of thing.
Yeah, 100%.
Or even show up halfway through the first one, think, I feel guilty. Here I am.
Yeah, but the positive about my uni is that you don't need to attend lectures. You only have to attend tutorials, which is it's good. Obviously,
so you can watch the lectures later.
Yeah, so all the lectures are recorded, and some of them you attend via Zoom. It's just the tutorials that are 100% attendance. So it's good because, like Mondays, for instance, Mondays is counted for me as a uni day because there's a lecture that goes on, but it's like I can sleep in, I can let the lecture record, and then I can wake up and then I just set up my own little campsite and study away at home. Yeah.
Do you watch the lectures? I did it.
Good question.
I did a course, right? I did a graduate diploma in the field of the secret government society that I don't talk about.
We don't talk about.
And when I was at the course, it was up in Rockhampton. I was on a residential school. And a couple of younger guys in there doing the course. And see, I had this, of course it was all online. I figured if I fail this, everything they sent me, I watched. Now, I must admit, I didn't watch it all the time. I'd set play and go and do something else. But I thought, they can see when I log into my online learning. They can see when I press play.
Yeah.
And we're doing like a tutorial thing at the residential school. And the lecturer said, geez, Nick, you're always on you do everything we send you. You do everything. And the other younger blokes looked at me, one bloke in particular looked at me and said, what do you mean? She goes, we can see that when you've logged on, how long you've been logged on, what videos you've watched, what documents we've sent you to download, whether you downloaded them or not. And I said, yeah. And then after when the lecture was there, I said, I knew they'd do that. So if I ever failed a subject and they said, you failed the subject, they could never say to me, I didn't do the work. You know what I mean? So I knew that they were watching the keystrokes.
Yeah.
And the rest of the class was all like fucking 10, 15 years younger than me, or like Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Mind you, they were heaps smart, so they didn't need to watch it.
Don't
So
say
just
that
do
to
it.
me now.
So honestly, you need to log in. You need to log in and fucking, if they send you a PDF, fucking download it.
Yeah, no, like all that type, like all of that I download. It's just some of the lectures, like we have one that's on Zoom that I'll attend, but recently it's just been admin stuff because we've just started the semester, and so it's just an introduction to
what you're doing,
to what we're doing.
Yeah.
But then there's some that are pre-recorded and then downloaded. But I usually like click on them and their background noise.
Look, I used to watch them, but because the graduate diploma I was doing was in my field, a lot of the stuff I fucking knew anyway.
Yeah,
like I knew from doing the job.
Yeah.
So I sort of let it run, thinking, I know about that. But I used to let it run because I knew they were watching what I was doing on the computer.
I think that's a positive as well.
So there's a little bit of advice to everyone doing online courses. You've got to fucking click
look
on.
Look at everything.
They tell you to log on every day.
Yeah.
Fucking log on every day.
Yeah. But I think that's a positive when you have background knowledge as well. So a lot of my friends at uni, they had a gap year.
Yeah.
Whereas I graduated last year and I'm fresh out of high school.
Yeah, so why didn't you take a gap year? Because me personally, I would do what you're doing. I reckon go to uni, get your fucking...
Take your gap year after.
Get your qualification. How much better... Say you travel overseas with your degree when you finish, how much better is it in the pub in Spain or fucking London?
Knowing that you have your degree.
And you're talking and drinking with people the same age as you.
Yeah.
And they're saying... Oh, I've got to fucking go back next year and start my 4-year uni degree. And you go, hey, look at this.
Yeah, I've already done it.
I've got mine in my fucking pocket.
I think I personally, I couldn't afford it. But I did look at it for a while because there was a bit towards the end of high school where I was freaking out because I've always had no confidence in myself to get through. And so from year 7, I was always stressing about the HSC because I always put this immense pressure on myself that I had to be the best and that I had to go to uni. So once I got to the HSC, I hadn't received any offers yet. And so I'm like, fuck, I'm about to go into this HSC and I have to absolutely sweat my balls off.
Is that like a pre?
Yeah, so early entry. So that I used my year 11 results because they were pretty good. And I'm like, I don't have any confidence in myself for this HSC, for all these exams. And so I went into the exam with no offer for any uni whatsoever. I didn't know where I was going to go. Like I had hopes for what uni I wanted to go to, but I hadn't received anything back and all my friends were receiving stuff back. And so I just felt it was hella FOMO, but it was just like, I was just freaking out. I'm like, fuck, I'm not going to be able to get through. And then I think the day before my last exam, my CAFS exam, I got the offer to the uni that I wanted to go to.
So you thought, you beauty. So if you get that offer, that takes a fair bit of pressure off your HSC.
It takes so much pressure off you.
You can sort of like kick back and relax.
Some of them are conditional on the fact that you have to get a certain ATAR, which I think is kind of stupid because it's like you're giving us an early entry offer.
Yeah, why are you offering me early entry and then telling me
that I have to get a good ATAR still? Yeah, I think it's because people, they get that offer and then they just completely bomb me out on it.
Yeah.
So, but I did pretty good. I feel pretty confident like with my HSC, but now I don't give a fuck about it.
Yeah. What can I ask what ATAR you got?
A mark. But no, it was around like 60s.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Is that like you think you don't ask 18-year-olds? What was your ATAR?
Not like sometimes it can be a touchy subject. So the ATAR system is really flawed. So so they send you a message on the morning of when you receive your ATAR. So stupid. It's like all your 13 years of school comes down to a simple text message.
Yeah.
And so I woke up 6 o'clock. I woke up at 5 o'clock that morning. Waited for my phone, got the text message, and it said like it had all my subjects and I had 70s, I had 80s, and I'm like, fuck yeah, like I've got this is gonna be a good ATAR. So I went out to my parents and I'm like, look, like this is what I got, and they're like, oh, cool. And then we got the login information that we could look at our ATAR, and it was like 60. Fuck, I don't even know what it is anymore.
So because they mark it, something to do with the school.
It's scaled. So you have
it's weird.
You have you have people that come first in your class.
Yep.
So you have ranks. So the people that come first in your class, if they are able to keep that rank, then when it comes to the HSC, whoever gets the top mark in their HSC, the person that was ranking first in that class gets that mark. So if I was to do really good in the HSC, but I was coming like 10th in the class, if my mark was the top out of the class, the first person in that class gets my mark and I get the 10th person's mark. That's how it works.
Oh, I don't even fucking understand.
It's annoying.
You have to write that down on fucking paper for me to even understand.
Just think think you're running a race. You come first, but the person that won all the races before that was coming first. They get your medal in that race because they outdid you in all the other classes.
I don't know. Maybe we should just do one exam at the end or something.
I just think that they shouldn't have
SATs
I just think whatever your mark is, you should have a median on that. It shouldn't be ranked on other people.
Excuse me real quick whilst I drop an ad on you, and then we'll be back to the show. Hey, East Coast Average listeners. If you're a cat lover searching for a T-shirt that combines creativity with style, check out graphicoasisco.com. There you'll find unique designs featuring whimsical cats, steampunk themes and inspirational quotes. Each shirt there is made with vibrant colours, sharp lines, and you'll look fantastic while showcasing your personality. So go and visit graphicoasisco.com and use East Coast Averages at checkout to get 15% off your first order. Elevate your wardrobe with graphicoasisco.com. Let your shirt do the talking. So when you got that, you weren't overly disappointed because you knew.
No, because I had my uni, and so I wasn't stressed or anything. I was like, sweet, like cool. Now I haven't looked back on it at all.
And you looked at doing the gap year. Because I know it works for some people, but it worries me that people won't come back and do it.
Yeah, no. The gap year for
after year 12.
Yeah, so when I hadn't received any offers, I was like, fuck, like maybe I should just go in as a mature age student when your ATAR doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, so you just work for a couple of years then.
Yeah. So I was going to do that, and so I was looking at like student. It's like you pay like $1,400 for a trip around Europe or something, and all your accommodation stuff is paid for, and they organise the trip for you.
Oh, yeah.
And so I looked at that, and then a couple of days later, I got my offer. And so I was like, fuck, I don't need to do anymore.
Go to uni, yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't want to waste any chances. And I'm like, I just want to get straight stuck into...
Yeah, look, I sort of agree with that. I think that's probably the way to go, I think.
Yeah,
For me personally, I would be encouraging people not to have a gap year, but some people do it, and that's what they...
I think it's because people, like after doing 13 years of study, I don't really count kindergarten as study. I don't really know. So 12 years of study.
Bit of wetting your pants. And
a bit of wetting your pants and occasionally vomiting.
And crying for your mummy. Mummy,
I'm scared. I think people were just so sick of studying, and so they're like, fuck this, I don't want to do this anymore. And so they go take a gap year, and they're like, all right, time to get started.
Yep.
But I've just never really looked at it like that. Didn't want to do it. I can do it later when I actually have money.
Maybe.
Well, not a broke uni student.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I've spoken to your mother about that. But
oh, fine. Great.
I think she should fucking slip you some money occasionally.
Oh, she does. I used to have an allowance of $20 a fortnight.
$20 a fortnight.
That was my allowance, was $20 a fortnight. And then I remember
your parents are tightwads.
The other night,
and I know them really well, and they're fucking tightwads. They always have been, always will be.
But what gets me is they make so much money though.
Yeah, they're fucking tightwads, mate.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. Yeah, no, my kids would think they'd be strangled if I gave them $20 a fortnight. Dad
brought up the other day that they're not gonna they're gonna stop paying for things for me, and I'm like, what are you fucking paying for?
Just want to put this community announcement out there. You know who you are. Fuck me, give your daughter some money for God's sake. I fucking know what you do for a living. I know you fucking make good money, so fucking slip
me some money.
Take the fucking boa constrictor off your wallet.
I've got a good job now though,
and give your fucking daughter some more money.
Yeah, no, but where I am now, I don't need to. Like, I set up all my bills and stuff. Yeah, I'm pretty good with money now.
Look, it probably teaches you. Yeah, look, I've never been good with money.
Yeah,
and I've spent my whole life chasing credit cards up and down, pretty much, and still do now at 52.
Yeah, no, it does. Like,
I fucking put them up. I pay them off. I get rid of them. I get another one.
Yeah.
I can put it up. I pay it off. It's a fucking endless fucking cycle.
What throws me off and what really shows, like, I'm appreciative of mum and dad for not, like, spoon feeding me with money is that, like, down at uni, and especially a bunch of people down in the city, and, like, there's a couple of people that are up here that probably have the same experience, but it's like, I remember going to a birthday dinner and they were talking about how expensive the fuel prices were. And they were saying like it's $1.70 or something down in the city. And I'm like, fuck, it's like $2.30 up in the mountains. And then they were like,
Yeah, that's because you get from that stupid servo.
Oh, no, it's not that bad.
Near here, that's always fucking 20 million cents more than anywhere else.
And then I was complaining about that. And then they were like, don't your parents pay for your fuel? And I'm like, no. And they were like, oh, ours do. And so I'm like, fuck, like, you guys are living a luxury then.
You mean gypped?
Like, I dread paying $60 to fill up my car. I'm like, I dread the thought of filling up my car that I'm not scabby that I'll put like $35 in and fuck, that'll last me a week and then I'll let it get down to empty again. Shouldn't really do that, but.
Your mum and dad are throwing rocks at the fucking radio listening to this.
Yeah.
They're coming down. Oh, I'll get a phone call from your mum. What the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? Telling the whole universe that we're tight ones and we need to give our daughters more money. Said you're a tight one.
No, but now that I've got a pretty good job, I'm not as stressed about it because I know that I have that. Yeah. The constant income.
Look, I'm pretty sure that if you really, really needed a tank of fuel,
that my parents they would.
Parents would give you
it's
a tank
only
of fuel.
if they knew
and if
that
they
I needed
don't,
it.
you come down here and I'll give you a tank of fuel. Okay.
Yeah. Like I had a service on my car the other day, and I have to get a new engine mount. I have to get new shocks. And I said to my dad, to be honest, I cannot afford that. I still need to save for my rego and my green slip and my insurance as well. And then he was like, oh, like, okay. And then we arranged that they're going to buy it for me and I'm going to pay it off. Yeah, and so I think that's how things work, is that especially like with I bought a computer and I bought a new phone. And how it works is that I pay that off.
Yep.
And it shows to them that I can do it.
Yep.
And so it's not like, that's the way that it works. It's like I'm happy for them to buy. If they're happy to buy it for me, then I'll pay it off.
Yeah.
So that's how it works.
Yeah, look, you'll be way more financial savvy than most kids. All right, so we've got through school. We've got through year 12. Did you find the people that you met in Sydney way different to Blue Mountains people?
100%.
Or were you just all the same pretty much?
I find that the city people they're so hyperactive.
As in on the go.
Like yeah.
The city, busy.
I'm talking like undiagnosed ADHD, like that kind of thing. Like up here, everyone's pretty chill. And I find up here it's just like drama central because everyone knows each other. And so the relief that I get going down there and knowing no one and no one knows who I am, it's just amazing. And going down and like not having any grudges against each other because I befriended this person and they didn't like that. Like it's amazing.
So you like escaping the mountains?
Yeah, I do. What do you
think about those new trains that are coming? They don't look as comfortable, eh?
No, they don't. They look like the shitty Sydney trains. At least it's not that dumb.
They've got those really thick, really thin seats on them.
Yeah, and they've got no back support. At least with these chairs that we have on the BMT.
Every time I see them coming past, my daughter always says, "Oh, I can't believe we're getting those trains. Yeah. Can't even turn the seats around."
No, with the shitty BMT ones, like it's a gross train, but the seats are fucking comfortable.
Yeah, the seats are not too
bad.
They're
so comfortable.
Have you ever fallen asleep and gone past?
No, I haven't. I have a fear of falling asleep on those trains.
Yeah.
Because one, I don't want to wake up in a different fucking town.
Yeah.
And
at Lithgow or something.
And second, I come home at like 7 o'clock at night. There are some pretty bad trippers on the train.
yeah. Look, the public transport system is a melting pot for all walks of life, from the uber rich to the very, very bottom, lower social, economic, mental health problems, drug abuse, and everything in between.
Yeah.
Is a train system.
Yeah.
So now that brings us back to your schooling, and you mentioned that you got sick.
I did.
School.
Yeah, I had only been in year 7 for about 5 weeks, maybe tops. So actually, no, I can't even remember now. It's a trauma response.
The trauma
block out.
Trauma response.
I remember we had cross country at the start of the year, so I only had done term 1 of year 7. It was about a 5-kilometer run. And I had done that the week before I was admitted to hospital. And so I had ran 5 kilometres with shitty antibodies in my body. And I'm pretty proud of myself for that, to be honest.
Did you feel really tired? Like, was that the catalyst to get you to go to the doctor?
I don't know. No. So I a couple of weeks after that, I think, I can't remember the timeline at all. All I remember is running my cross country. I remember having a day off because I had walked up our stairs in the house and I walked up the top and I felt like everything drop in my body. And then my heart rate started going really quickly and I looked at my dad and I'm like, I feel like I'm going to pass out. I remember running to the bathroom and just throwing my guts up.
Yep.
And then I was laying down, and then he's like, are you okay? And I'm like, no. And then from there, I had time off of school. And I remember explaining to my friends that the feeling that I used to get was that I had anxiety, but I wasn't the one that was controlling it. So I would have leg shakes, my heart rate would increase, I'd feel sweaty, and it just felt like anxiety for a while.
When you said it felt like your body dropped, was that? Did it feel?
It was your blood pressure. It was my blood pressure dropping.
I felt,
Yeah. So like before you faint, you see stars, and it just felt like my whole world started to slowly close down. And then I was at home sick for a while, and then my parents booked a GP appointment. For them, they just thought it was teenage girl. There was a bit of drama at school, maybe a little bit of depression, maybe a little bit of anxiety.
Yep.
And I was severely losing weight as well.
And all that kind of thing.
Yeah. And I was I was losing weight as well. And so it was like maybe a little bit of anorexia or something. And so we went and saw the GP, and then he made me do a postural BP, which is, for those people that don't know, it's where you sit and you take the blood pressure, and then you stand and take the blood pressure. And there was a drastic drop in what my blood pressure was. And so that was warning signs. And
why does my fucking dog have to start barking?
I don't know.
At the critical point of the fucking interview.
She knows.
Yeah.
And I thank him to this day that this was our first appointment that we'd ever had with this GP. We were loyal to our old GP, but then he retired, and then the GP that we're seeing now, he replaced him. So this is our first appointment with him, first time meeting him, and he immediately said, we're going to send you for bloods. So then the day after, we went and got bloods up in Katoomba, and I remember the blood test so clearly. I was so nervous, and the lady was telling me to wiggle my toes because that's how you don't feel needles. And then to this day, I still do that. And I do remember taking her blood, and I remember looking at it, and I shook it, and I'm looking at this blood. I'm like, that's pretty cool. And then put it away. And then that day we drove up to Newcastle because it was Mother's Day. We drove up to Newcastle because we had a Mother's Day lunch. And then we had Mother's Day dinner with my nan and my auntie and uncle. And then that night we got a call. Dad got a call from, I think it was my GP, saying that you need to get her to hospital immediately. And then I remember him taking my mum into one of the lounge rooms in my nan's home. And I remember looking at mum and her, like seeing her break down. And then my auntie and uncle took me outside, and they were like, it's okay. And like for a while I thought it was my grandfather because he was pretty ill at the time. And I'm like, fuck, is it my pop? And then came back in, and then I was outside, and then dad and mum came out, and they were like, we need to take you to the hospital. Something is wrong. And so I remember that drive. It's kind of funny. 12-year-old me, I thought I was getting like diagnosed with like some mental health disorder. I thought I was getting diagnosed with autism for a little bit. I don't know if I can say that.
Yeah, you can say that.
But no, I was
you're
like
12 years old, man.
Yeah, no,
and you've just seen your parents fucking faces drop and whatnot.
Yeah.
So keep.
No, so I was like running through my head. I'm like, fuck, what am I like? What's wrong? And then we got to the emergency room, and then they put me into one of the procedure rooms, and they put a cannula in my hand. And that cannula traumatized me. They struck a pretty good vein because it just bursted out with blood or whatever. And then they put me in a room, and then from that period, between me in the ER and me getting into bed, I can't remember at all. But I remember being hooked up to an IV pole, and then I was wheeled through John Hunter Hospital through the oncology ward. But I never knew that it was the oncology ward, which I don't know how, because my parents and my brother telling me, they said that I don't know how you didn't know, because there were so many signs and everything on the wall that said cancer. So I just didn't know. And so then we spent the first night in John Hunter, and I slept. Dad stayed with me, and then my mum went home. And then the day after, we got the permission to be transferred to Westmead Children's Hospital, and then drove to the hospital, and then I was in the ER. And then when we got to the ER, I was basically told that I was immunocompromised and that I had to be isolated immediately. And then they put me in a room, and then they wheeled me up to the Camperdown ward, which is the oncology ward in Westmead Children's Hospital. And once again, I did not know that I was in an oncology ward. I still don't know how. Like, looking at it now, like, I'm so, like, I don't remember if it was just 12-year-old me being like, fuck, like, I'm in a hospital bed. This is pretty cool. Yes. Like, I've got an IV pole and, like, all this shit. And then I was put in a single room. Oh, no, I was put in a joint room. And I remember the little boy that was next to me, and he had only just started his treatment as well. And so he didn't look that different to me. And so it was like the world was trying to shelter me from knowing that this was what my life was going to be. And then spent that night in the hospital. And then the day after.
When did they tell you the diagnosis?
The day, so 3 days in to being in the hospital. Sorry, no, it's okay. Yeah. They took me for a lumbar puncture. And then they took a blood test, and then they put a central line in. And then I remember everyone sitting on my bed, and then Dad saying, you have this thing that's called leukemia. And I remember
now
that threw me off a little. For information.
For everybody out there in podcast
I did say we wanted to make fun of it.
Izzy has always taken the funny side to her diagnosis and journey.
It's not Nick being morbid.
I'm not being morbid. I told her I was going to use that when she said, but I feel like that's not appropriate for some people.
It's fine. It's okay.
And your life went.
It did. It went on pause.
Yeah.
Dad saying that I had leukemia, and then I remember knowing but not knowing what it was. And then they said that it was a form of blood cancer. And then I had eaten KFC before this, and just the amount of overwhelm, I had vomited up all my KFC. I was pretty upset about that.
Have you eaten KFC since?
Oh, fuck yeah, I have.
Because I spewed up. I got sick one night on lasagna and fucking cannot stand it.
Cannot stand it, yeah.
Mind you, it wasn't cancer sick, but it was fucking...
But yeah, no.
So when you started, I just noticed when you started talking about that that journey into being diagnosed with leukemia, you started to talk quite a bit quicker, and you sort of became a little bit more animated, animated, like a bit more. You could see there's a stress response when that memory comes up.
Oh yeah.
Do you find that? Do you feel that when you talk about it?
Yeah, I feel.
Well, sitting here looking at and knowing you really well, and the experience in what I do for a living, I could tell that you can see that it's it's quite a
it's a response, and I guess like there's probably some things that's still lurking around inside of me that probably haven't been diagnosed yet.
Yeah. And as a 12-year-old, like I'll tell you my side of that story. I remember Max getting a message or something, and he came out and he said, "Oh, Izzy's in hospital. She's got leukemia." And I said, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
And I said to Kaz, I said, "Fuck." Max just said, Izzy's in hospital. She's really fucking sick. And she went out and rang your mum.
Straight away.
Yeah, and they said that you had leukemia. So as a 12-year-old, when you're sitting on that bed and your parents said you've got leukemia, it's cancer, obviously the response was you vomit up the KFC.
Yeah.
The good colonel's fucking hard work is all over the fucking sheets.
Yeah.
So you actually remember just feeling so overwhelmed with emotion that up she comes.
Yeah, I was hysterically crying. I sounded pretty funny when I said that. And I remember them trying to calm me down, and then straight after they said something funny, and then it just all disappeared. And it was from like then on, we coped with everything through humor, which is why I prefer to joke with it with humor. Obviously, the situation itself isn't funny, but it was
not funny. It's not a funny situation, but you've got to. I guess people
you have to have you have to.
Their own way.
But yeah, no, from that day on, I was in Westmead Children's Hospital for 6 months. I had roughly 58 doses of chemotherapy. And then every time I had chemo, I had to do a lumbar puncture.
So you had 58 lumbar punctures as well?
I think so.
They're pretty fucking brutal. I've never had one, but they're not the nicest.
I have this permanent dent now on my back from where it used to be. And then with that, they would do... they would inject chemo into my spine to ensure that no antibodies had entered my spine and possibly caused me paralysis.
Sorry, Gabe. I was thinking of all your friends in uni taking shots out of your little dimple in your spine. But it was just fucking... So, yeah, instead of taking shots out of your belly button, take it
out of my little dent in my back.
Take it out of me fucking dent in the back.
Yeah,
that's the way.
Yeah.
So you had 58 lumbar punches.
Yep.
Can we talk about the first one you had? Did they explain
I was asleep for all of it.
Oh, so everyone you had?
Yeah, no, everyone that I had, I was asleep because with kids with those types of procedures, so with adults, you're awake.
If you move, you're in trouble.
So with kids, they put you under, which was good because it was a good sleep every single time.
Yeah.
And then the same procedure, I'd wake up, have to lay on my back for an hour, and then couldn't get up.
Yep. So what were they doing? What was the reason for that? After the chemo?
A bone marrow aspirate. So it was to see what the level of antibodies that my bone marrow is making.
Which would indicate on whether the treatment was working for the leukemia or not.
Yeah. So each time that they do an aspirate, I'm pretty sure that would determine how much chemo they needed to give me. But then it would also determine how well the last round had gone.
Yeah.
Yep. So I had 58 doses of that. And then I think I had about 20 medications that I had to take a day.
Tablets?
Tablets. And then it was just in and out of hospital, fevers, whatever you want to call it. And then after 6 months, they turned around and they said that the chemo isn't working. We're going to have to look at another option, which
that's what you want to hear, isn't it?
Yeah.
As a nearly 13-year-old.
Yeah.
So the 6 months that you went through all that sort of stuff, you just sort of spoke about it over 6 months. Let's move on to the next one. Was that something you don't want to?
There wasn't much that,
apart from getting the chemo, did you feel really sick from the
chemo? I remember being obviously nauseous all the time, but I don't really remember being super sick. Obviously, if you were to ask mum and dad, they would say that I was sick. I was sick.
Yeah.
But I think it was because I just can't remember, to be honest, and I can't tell if that's just my trauma response. But the only
to see someone smarter than me is to work that one.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. But the only period that I remember is my I think it was it 8? How long is 8 weeks? It's
2 months.
Yeah, 2 months. Fuck, I don't remember. The period that my transplant was where I had to isolate myself, that's when I can remember myself being really sick because so they said that the chemo wasn't working, I had to have a transplant.
Was the chemo not working because of the type of leukemia you had, or was it?
So I had acute myeloid leukemia. So there's 3 variations, I think, well, as far as I'm aware, of leukemia. So you have, I want to say it's not Hodgkin's lymphoma. Don't quote me on that. But you have ALL and you have AML. So it's kind of swapped. So AML is really difficult to treat in children, but really easy to treat in adults. And then ALL is really easy to treat in kids, but really difficult to treat in adults.
Is that something that you were told by the medical staff?
Yeah.
So they were pretty upfront with you about.
Yeah. So what mum and dad ensured is that I'm part of the whole decision making with my health. That I'm not just a sick child, that I am capable of making my own decisions. And so they were really upfront and forward with me with everything. And so they said that I needed a bone marrow transplant. But from there, I didn't really comprehend that it was because if I didn't have any other choice, if I hadn't had a transplant, then I probably wouldn't be here.
Yep.
So they put me on a registrar. Or a registry,
So that was after 6 months of chemo.
Yeah.
And all the blood tests, they said, okay, this chemo is not working.
Yeah.
So the next step is
a bone marrow transplant.
And what was that like for you to hear that if you don't have a transplant, it's
life-threatening?
It's a life-limiting illness that you'll die from.
Again, I don't think it really clicked with me. Like, I think throughout it, I say to people, like when I explain my situation, that it never really clicked for me that I was actually looking death in the eye and that one wrong thing that could go wrong, that tomorrow could be my last day. Like, it never really clicked for me that death was an option. And I think that was kind of the positive thing that I took away from it, that I had no other option, and death wasn't one of them, I was going to live.
Did you talk to other kids in the ward about?
I had 2 other friends.
Dying and having a terminal illness? Not
dying. I don't think the kids really comprehended that death
could be an outcome. Of the illness.
I had 2 other friends. We all had 3 different types of cancers. And it was because our families were really close. Our mums, that they stayed there majority of the time and the dad stayed at home. Our mums needed their support network, and so they made friends with the mothers that were there.
Yeah.
And so obviously with them, like us kids, especially the older ones, we'd get to know each other. And so I had these two really good friends that obviously we couldn't see each other every day because we were either bedbound or immunocompromised, but we just knew each other. We knew about each other.
Yep.
And then unfortunately, those two passed away.
Oh, they passed away today.
They passed away. And so I have
a long way into your treatment, or?
I had just got out of. I was in isolation when my first friend passed away, and then I was in remission when my second friend had passed away.
That's pretty tough to.
It's a lot of survivor's guilt. I find that there's a lot of like, what did I do differently that they didn't?
Yep.
And then I think you just have to kind of look at it that it is the different types of cancer that they had, that it's quite aggressive.
Yep.
It's a horrible thing. But I just look at it that it's they were amazing nurses. Like whenever I go in for my appointments, I always still think about that. I'm like, I just want to go in there and see who's in there because for me, seeing them, seeing me, and knowing how I've come along, that's what I want. I don't want to give them that closure that that's what they've done. Yeah,
the work they did to get you through.
Yeah,
and that might have been just as, I don't know, saying how you going is, or
exactly.
I mean? or
just asking how I'm going.
Yeah,
but and then
have you got any happy memories of being in the ward? Like you know what I mean? Was there any times where you forgot you had cancer and actually were enjoying being in there? Like when they had people come in to like make a wish and all that kind of those foundations, or was always still that undercurrent in the back of your mind?
It was still always that it was like I'm still in here and that we don't really know when I'm going to get out. But I fucking hated it when some of the workers would come in. Like I'm talking like the clowns.
Not a clown person.
Fucking hate the clowns.
You don't like clowns? Not saying that all clowns are bad.
No.
But Izzy,
in
her lived experience,
it was just the clowns.
Fucking hate the clowns.
And they would knock on my door and I'm like, I don't really want you to come in. I'm like, I'm a 12-year-old and you're treating, like I understand this is where they should have had an adolescent ward. Because
they were treating you like a 5-year-old.
They were treating me like a 5-year-old. And it was so awkward because they would like say something funny. And I'm like, dude, I'm 12. Not it.
I'm 12, mate.
Not it, babe.
And I guess it's a tough one, because you're a kid. You're just started high school. I mean, so all this is fucking happening, and then you got a clown coming in who's treating like a 5-year-old.
Yeah, pretty much.
And you're thinking, for fuck's sake, man, I'm in here dying of cancer.
I just want
and getting treatment and you're fucking.
Yeah. I'm trying to eat my lunch, bro.
Go and speak to the 3-year-old down the hall.
Yeah, they'd love you more, not me. I just want to sit on my phone, to be honest. But yeah, no. And then after the 6 months, I was put on the bone marrow, whatever you want to call it, donor registry.
Donor registry, yeah.
So they found a 10 out of 10 match, which is awesome because sometimes it can be 7 out of 10s. And then usually if it's 10 out of 10, then it means complete compatibility.
Yep. So a 10 out of 10 match is
good.
You're going into that treatment thinking, if I get through the treatment, it's going to work.
Yeah, I'm going to be fine. So all I was told was that I wasn't even supposed to be told that, but all I know is that at the time he was a 38-year-old male from the United Kingdom. And all he knew about me was that I was under the age of 18, and that I was a female and that I was in Australia. So he wasn't allowed to know anything about me because I was under 18, and I wasn't allowed to know anything about him because I was under 18.
Have you since thought about trying to track him down?
I have, yeah. So I sent my nurse practitioner an email and I said if he would like to, I would really like to reach out to him. And so I had to send out they sent me this form that was just saying that the Australian bone marrow, whatever, isn't held liable for any social media or media that wants to contact me about my story because they hold everything. What's the word? What is like
privacy?
Privacy. What's the word that we use for privacy?
Oh, I don't know.
Confidentiality.
Yeah, I was going to say you're smarter than I am.
Yeah, no, they keep everything in. They keep everything.
Maybe the private school system might have been better for you.
Yeah, maybe. They keep everything in confidentiality. But then once you sign those forms,
they will release it. If someone asks for it, they'll release it.
Yeah. So I haven't heard anything back yet, but I have an appointment with my.
Do they send something to him to say that you've released?
I think so, or unless they've just forgotten about me. I don't know. But I'm going to follow it up because I'd really like to. Yeah,
so the just to sort of go off topic a bit, the bone marrow transplant thing, we should register as donors. And I'm not, and I sit here now and I think I should.
It's the easiest thing in the world. The procedure itself, like I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's pretty, well, at least for me, it wasn't fun. Pretty self-explanatory. But for donors themselves, it's just a blood test. Yep. And your bone marrow is...
So you have one blood test?
Yep.
And it sits on file?
It sits on file.
And you might not get a tap on the shoulder ever?
No.
But you might get a tap on the shoulder every 6 months and say, fuck, we've got someone here, 10 out of 10.
Can you please come in?
Yeah.
So the process that I went through, so they had to put my bone marrow through a centrifuge, which is just a big spinning machine, which... separates everything. So I had to have a procedure where I had a big fat catheter put in my groin. What they would do is it had two little nads.
How fat are we talking?
Pretty fucking big. That was and so I had one nad into my groin,
into your bone.
Yeah, no, up into the skin.
Yep,
and then it would sit in a vein that sat there.
Okay, so it was actually in intravenous
catheter. Yeah. And
that would probably be similar to like a
it's similar to a central line, but just in your groin and a little bit smaller as well.
And people on dialysis have those big what are they? I can't remember.
I can't remember what they're called.
Anyway, they're big tubes they put it to make.
Yeah, it's like that. So they had blood that would go out into the centrifuge spin, and then I had blood that would go back in, and so that I can't remember what they were doing that for.
So that was just a test.
That was before my procedure. Yep. So I can't remember what it was. I can't tell if they were like removing some of the bone marrow, but that isn't exactly how that works.
Yep. So let's go back because we got off track a bit when we started talking about your donor.
Yep.
And let's go back to when they said you needed the treatment and they sat down and explained to this big tube in your groin.
Well, they didn't tell me the big tube.
Was that you were asleep to have that put in, obviously?
I was asleep.
Yep.
I was awake when they took it out though.
Is that nasty?
Yes, it was very nasty.
Is there a reason why they didn't put you to sleep to take it out?
It's just a simple surgery. It's just to remove a couple of stitches and
like a local anaesthetic and then
no local. Just remove the stitches and pull it out. It's pretty fun.
So you still wiggle your toes when you have it. You get the flu vax, you wiggle your toes.
I still wiggle my toes and I talk really quickly when I get needles and injections done. I think it's just that way I keep myself going.
Yeah, well, so when we started talking about your getting sick and getting cancer, you started talking pretty quick.
Yeah.
It's becoming a bit more animated in your – is animated?
What does that mean? What do you mean by that?
Look, it's when someone starts – like, not because I know you pretty well.
Yeah.
And when you chat normally, you chat
pretty
normally,
chill.
But when you become I can't even fuck say the word. You just become more expressive and you can tell you talk a little bit quicker and all that kind of stuff. So do you want to have a break? We're coming up to
That's all right.
55 minutes.
Fuck.
That's code for I need to go to the toilet.
Oh, okay.
And everyone who listens to East Coast Averages knows that Nicky
J... He sits down when he wees.
No, I don't sit down when I wees.
And he also is a one-way.
We'll get to that. And everybody knows that Nicky J needs to get to the toilet halfway through these things. So I'm going to press pause.
Okay.
All right, we're recording again. We're back from our break. I've had a cup of coffee.
He did his one wipe. Pretty itchy.
Fucking one wipe. Well, I did hear something from your mum that you might be part of the minority in the world.
What's that mean?
You stand up to wipe your bum.
Hey.
You do, don't you?
But wait, recently though, I've been testing it out. I've been trying to see what it's like to be part of the sitting crew.
Don't tell me you've gone back to the sitting crew.
I just find it's more surface area to cover.
No, you're off the
when you're sitting down, I think it's more of like it's cheek movement, man.
Yeah. See, I'm not allowed to talk because if Max was on the episode, he gets really upset if you talk about that.
See, sometimes when I stand up though, you get a little bit of a leg cramp.
Fucking hell. I think you should not leave the fucking stand-up club, and I think you might also be part of the waft club.
The waft club? Fuck off.
Your mum told me you're a wafter.
When the fuck did she say that?
Oh, yeah. 2 days ago when she was sitting out on my back veranda.
Oh, fuck, this sounds so weird. You know, like sometimes you like low-key like fuck with the smell.
You like the smell?
No, you just like, it's kind of like funky but good.
Yeah, you're a fucking wafter, man. Just blame the fucking chemotherapy and the brain damage. I don't know what I can blame, but fucking. All right, so we're back.
Yep, you're back.
We were talking about we weren't quite into your, what is it? The transfusion.
The transplant.
The
transfusion,
so
whatever
the transplant.
it is.
And it's a pretty big deal, isn't it?
It is.
Because they, let's have a real quick, from the way I understand it, and I'll just put it out there, I'm not a medical doctor, so I don't know the ins and outs of it, and you probably can correct me because you will know more about it than I do. But they basically kill off
pretty much
every single white or red blood cell in your bone marrow.
Yeah.
And replace it with your donor marrow.
Yep.
And hope that your body goes, here's some healthy marrow. This is how we fucking make it.
Yeah. So I had a week of pretty intense chemo.
And you were completely isolated through this.
Yeah.
Mum and dad allowed in with you?
Mum was for majority. Yeah, I'm pretty sure dad was. It was as long as there was no cough or cold symptoms. But mum stayed with me pretty much throughout it all.
So she didn't. She opted to basically isolate with you.
Yeah, because we were renovating our house at the time, and so dad was home all the time, obviously doing. Yeah. He was renovating because we were given a timeline of roughly when I'd be out, and me coming home immunocompromised, coming to a house that could potentially be full of bugs or whatever. Yeah. Dad was working hard to get everything up to standard, pretty much.
You think, and I don't want to talk for your dad, but do you think that was his way of coping with you being sick?
Yeah.
That was like he couldn't help you physically. Like the doctors had to do their thing to get you through it.
Yeah.
So him being at home, focusing on getting the house together for you to come home to is his way of sort of like
that was his way of paying back as well. I'd say that getting that done was him saying, like, I guess, like, I'm caring for you, like, I'm looking after you even though I'm not there, like, I'm trying to look after you.
Because through all this, and I guess this is the hard part, you know, the bills keep coming in.
Fuck yeah.
Like your parents still
they
have
don't
to work.
Stop. Yeah.
There's no magic fucking button to press
that puts everything on pause.
That's going to pause your mortgage. That's going to pause your career.
Yeah.
So if I guess, like, I suppose being an only child, well, you have a brother who's older than you.
Yeah.
A half brother who's older than you. So I guess if you had to have 3 other kids at home, like little kids, and
then I don't know how some of the families had done it.
How do you cope with that?
Yeah, I don't know how some of the families had done it. And, like, I look at some of the families that had other siblings and I almost felt bad because their parents, like, you have a sick child, that sick child is your priority, but it almost turned that all the other siblings didn't matter anymore.
And you can sort of, I can understand that, like you said, a 12-year-old mind is in the oncology, not really getting that this is a life-changing illness. The 8-year-old at home is just saying, oh, Izzy's getting more attention. Like if you had a sibling who was 8, then they're just thinking, oh, fucking Izzy's getting. They don't really fathom that's what you need.
No, they don't. Yeah. Which I think I'm grateful for. And, like, my brother as well, he understood and he had, like, his own issues and stuff that he was looking after. So it was good that I kind of look at it. I'm glad that I didn't become, like, a big thing for him, that he was able to focus on his own things, because I don't know how, if I, like, would be able to live with myself knowing that I had caused issues with him, if that makes sense. Like, and
look, I've got a little bit of experience with that, my brother being a quadriplegic.
Yeah.
When he had his spinal injury, my parents did, they did the same thing, basically spent a lot of time in the hospital. I'd already left home.
Yeah.
And so is my older brother, but my sister was 15 or 16 at the time. So I think she probably got, right or wrong, my parents, like, spent a lot of time with brother, and I think she probably got left out a little bit.
Yeah.
She probably felt a bit like that. I certainly didn't, because I'd already left.
And that's why positive is that he had left home.
Yeah.
So he didn't have to live at home with an empty house.
Yeah. So it's not just like you're fighting leukemia. You've got parents who have got to pay mortgages. They've got careers. There's not a finite level of, yes, we can have family leave and we can take our sick leave as family, but you don't have, it's not finite. Like, it's not guaranteed fucking payment.
No, it isn't.
So it just adds that extra layer of stress to dealing with your with your daughter in hospital.
Pretty much,
with an illness, and doctors are saying now she's got to get this transplant.
And it's put in another 2 months, nearly half a year back onto treatment.
The hospital stay, yeah.
Yeah, but it was good because once I had the transplant, like my whole entire like sickness fell down to this 70 ml transfusion of bone marrow.
You went into isolation.
Mm-hmm. They completely wiped me out. A week.
Wipe you out. How did that feel when they? Could you feel that you were being depleted of all this stuff, or
there was it was definitely fatigue. A lot of it, I just slept through a lot of it, which was kind of my coping.
Yep.
So the pretty harsh chemo was. I just slept, and it was good because during that period, because I wasn't completely immunocompromised, I was able to have family that would come in.
That was for the first
couple of weeks. Yep. And so one of the chemo, it caused mucositis through your whole digestive tract. And so there was this kind of research theory that if you eat ice or just cold stuff while the chemo is going through, that you limit your chances of getting mucositis. So every time I had chemo, I would eat icy poles for an hour, and I turned out with no mucositis at all.
Yep.
And then I just look at a couple of other kids that went through the same thing as me, and they had terrible mucositis.
That was a pretty rancid side effect.
It was. That was the worst, because if you get mucositis, you can tear a lot of your internal tracts and stuff.
Yeah.
And so
which just adds a whole other layer of
and then from there, if you tear your intestinal tracts or whatever you want to call it, you have to limit your eating, and then you have to limit your fluids.
If you get an infection because you've got the chemo, it just fucking cascades.
So then after I had the transplant, they gave me a steroid to sedate me, because the one thing that they didn't want to do is your body throwing a reaction. So they just sedated me, gave me a steroid, and then I woke up and had completely transfused.
So you had so you went on that chemo for a week. They killed everything off. They put that tube in your groin.
Yeah, and then that had been taken out. And then no. So the tube in the groin was before.
Yep.
And then my donor was doing the same thing, just without the tube. So his was being centrifused.
So where do they get his bone marrow from?
From his just a normal, just a blood test.
I thought they actually went into your bone.
No, that's what I thought. I was like,
I thought they drilled a hole into your pelvis.
No, it's liquid. It's liquid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Did they used to do that?
I think so. It's just like a platelet or a blood transfusion. It sits in a little IV bag, and then it goes into. So it must have
changed the way they get it.
It might have.
So yeah, that's why I thought they actually drilled a hole in your pelvis and took it out.
Yeah, no. And then woke up, and then it was transfused, and then I was in isolation for roughly about 2 months.
With and then, daily blood tests or?
Weekly? Yeah, because I had the central line, and so it wasn't. They didn't have to puncture me or anything. Yep. They just take that out. And then a couple of weeks after, they had to put a nasal gastric tube in to feed me in the event that I wasn't getting enough nutrition.
So was that put in just as a precaution?
As a precaution, and then they would also put feeds in.
Because you just didn't feel like eating?
With the nausea as well, you felt like shit. But I found with that I had a terrible gag reflex, and so I went through about 4 nasal gastric tubes.
Yeah, that's I don't know how I'd cope putting that down, eh?
Yeah, no. So and then
basically got to swallow as they put it in.
So then after around the 4th one, I'd say, they wanted to put another one in. And the nurses advocated, and they said to the doctors, they said, you can put it in yourself, but we're not putting her through it, because it's so traumatic.
Yep.
It's not a nice procedure. And then I promised them, they said, we won't put another one in as long as you promise to keep your nutritional intake up. And I was like, as long as I don't have to get another tube in, then that's fine. And so I managed to do that. But, and then it was all right from there. I just remember being sick. My auntie had gotten married while I was in there. And because I had no neutrophils, I had no defense, whatever. They said that I wasn't allowed to go, but we kind of said, fuck you. We put my prettiest dress on over, and we went to Bondi, and I saw her get married.
Did the nurses back you on that one, or were they like saying
the nurses were kind of hush about it? And then I remember seeing my doctor as I was walking out, and she's like, "Where are you going?"
that was the reception at the wedding.
Yeah. I remember seeing my doctor, and she's like, "Where are you going?" And I said, "I'm just going on a walk.
None of your fucking business.
Just going on a day, a gate pass, whatever you want to call them. And then she knew, but they couldn't stop. And they tried to scare me in it as well. They said that they had one boy that he had a bone marrow transplant and he wanted to go to a church function and he got a cold and then he had died. And I'm like, you're telling this to a 12-year-old that if I go out in the world, I'm going to fucking die. And so I was like, you guys are not nice.
Yeah, and that's a tough one, eh? Because,
it is.
Because from the doctor's point of view, she's probably watched kids
she has.
ignore her advice.
I can understand where she's coming from.
And die. And I can understand that you're a 12-year-old girl suffering from leukemia, looking down the barrel of dying, thinking, no, I want to go and see me fucking auntie get married.
Yeah.
Because you know what? There's no fucking guarantees I'm going to be here in 6 months.
Exactly.
So what's it matter?
Yeah. But obviously I didn't die. I wasn't fine. I wore a mask. I wore about 3 masks that day. And then that was the kind of only big hiccup. I couldn't eat for about 2 weeks. I couldn't drink or eat for 2 weeks because I had a tear in my stomach.
From?
Just, I think it was from just the recovery and stuff. And a lot of the medications that I was on as well just completely deteriorated my body.
Yeah. Were you much pain during all this?
I was on a morphine. I was on a morphine pump. But they found that with the morphine, so my mum used to watch Korean, like K-pop shows or whatever, like her Korean drama. And I was convinced that I could understand them. And there was one night.
You're fucking sitting in the room.
I'm fucking sitting
speaking
there,
Korean.
Sleeping, and I'm fucking listening to them, and I'm like, fuck, I can understand you guys.
What were they saying?
I can't remember. I remember the word banana. That's all I remember.
Was it?
No, definitely not.
Banana.
Yeah.
So they took the button out of your hand, said that's enough of that thing. So.
Yeah. And then they put me on fentanyl.
Yeah.
But I was about ready to get out of bed, and I had so at night time my IV pole was plugged into the wall to charge, and I was about ready to get out of bed, walk to the toilet, nearly ripped my central line out of my chest
because the fentanyl had you.
No, because of the morphine. It just had me like completely in psychosis.
Yep.
And then they put me on fentanyl, and that was just amazing.
So that's the other thing. You're taking so many of these drugs and that. Did you ever think, fuck, what if I get addicted to fentanyl?
No, not at the time. It was until I tried endone. That was when I was like, this shit's pretty good.
So out of all the shit you're going through, the feeling you got when you took endone,
it just completely lifted everything.
Yeah.
It sounds so bad. I sound like an absolute...
Look, it does sound
bad, but it was genuinely that was the only time that I had some form of peace, and I could sleep throughout the night and not have to worry about waking up feeling nauseous in the morning.
Yep.
And it was just
so not only is it could cause a physical addiction to it, psychologically you could start to think, I can't sleep without endone. I can't. I feel nauseous without it. Please, give me more.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the fine line that doctors are doing in treatment with people, of all people with all illnesses, is when they say, hey, you've got to take, it's time to start cutting back that. I know you can't sleep at night, we're going to have to look at something else.
But I had, I remember I had one nurse when I was on the morphine pump, and because it gives you like 5 mils every like 1 hour when you press it.
Yep.
I remember she came in and she looked at the history of my pumps, and she dead set says to me, are you really in that much pain that you need to press it that much? And I remember mum just standing up for me and being like, she's allowed to press it whenever she wants. And it's like, I'm sure if you were in that bed, you'd be pressing it as much as what she would be. And it's just like I had a couple of nurses that were just really shitty. And then we used to... As in
they didn't want you to take...
It was like they were judging me. It was, too much of it? Yeah, it was like they were judging me. And then I used to have, because I hated the smell of the hospital. And so I used to have incense and stuff because I couldn't light candles because it was oxygen, whatever.
Yeah.
And so I used to have little reed incense things, diffusers. And I remember this nurse coming in again, and she was like, oh, it smells really good in here or whatever. And then mum was like, yeah, no, it's a diffuser. And then she looked at me and she's like, does that make you feel nauseous though? And it's like, if it made me feel fucking nauseous, I wouldn't have it in here. I would
turn it off.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wouldn't have it in here.
Hello.
We weren't known for having negativity. It was all positivity.
Yep.
So anytime that it was just negative.
Did you ever through your time in the hospital get sick of that positivity? Did you ever when you obviously, and this is a bit of a tough question for you, but there's times during the night when you would have been laying there by yourself and your mum's asleep and you're staring at the roof and the clock's ticking.
Yeah.
And you're thinking about life. And did you have moments where you were fucking thought, fuck, I'm sick of this fucking positivity?
Yeah.
Fuck me, I'm sick of it.
Yeah, there was a period where we had a social worker come in because I made this conscious effort that I always had in my head that if you cry, then it means you're weak. And so I would never cry, and it sounds really bad, but whenever mum would get emotional, I wouldn't want to see her because I'm a what do they call it? A sympathetic crier. And so whenever I see someone cry, I cry, and I never wanted to cry throughout my experience there. And so whenever she would cry, I would ask her sometimes, I'm like, if you're coming to, can you please just go outside?
So so you just didn't like to see people cry?
I didn't like to and cry about me. I didn't like it. And then they had a social worker come in and ask me, like, what are you feeling? And I'm like, I don't know. And I remember they drilled me. Like, I felt like I was being interrogated. They drilled me for about 3 hours, and I was so emotionally exhausted. I'm like, can you just get out of my room? Like, I'm not depressed. I'm not like whatever. I just don't want to think about anything right now. I don't want to talk about my experience. I don't want to talk, like, especially in that, like, I didn't want to talk about the medication that I was on, how it was affecting me. Like, I hated those hippy dippy questions. It's like, how does it make you feel?
How do you think, mate? I'm 12 years old. I'm in hospital. There's a good chance I might fucking die from this. How do you fucking think I feel, mate? You haven't fucking...
And then I remember they set up this chair and they gave me a ball and they're like, pretend that's the cancer and throw this ball at it. And I'm like, you think this is going to make me feel better? Like, and I remember throwing it and I was crying so much. I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore.
And look, I guess that's maybe, did they try something different?
Well, they referred me to my psychologist that I see now. And I think that's because they were paid social workers. They treating all of us like kids. And it's like, I'm like now 13 nearly.
Yep. Coming from a good place.
Yeah, I support them. Like, I understand where they're coming from, but it's like maybe they just needed to switch it up a little bit.
Like change it. Maybe throwing the ball at the thing is not for you.
No, not for me.
Come back with something that suits Izzy.
Yeah.
The ball thing might have been perfect for the kid down the hall.
But not for me.
So let's work out something different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the only time that I kind of lost all my positivity. And then after...
Was it difficult to keep it, like the positivity? Like I said, you're laying in bed at night. Was there times when you just thought, fuck, this is it, I'm
sometimes, but I think because I just surrounded myself with really positive things, never really fazed me, especially now. Like, I'm always so positive about my experience. Like, there's sometimes, like, you get a joke about it.
Yeah. So it never entered your mind during all your treatment that you were going to die? No. In your mind, you were always going to get better?
Yeah. That was what it was. The only time that I kind of was like, fuck, this is real, was when they gave us a information like paper before I had my transplant. And I remember taking it and I was reading it and I was going through the symptoms or whatever, and then I went right to the back page and then it said in some causes it can cause death. And then I remember mum walking in and I was like, are you like, is this serious? Like, is this going to happen? And then she was like, no, like, it's not going to happen to you. And it was just little things like that. But never once did it cross my mind. I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm going to die. Like, I was never.
It wasn't in
my head. I never got to.
You know, that's I take my hat off to you because I've got a mate who had cardiomyopathy for years and years and years. Yeah. And I watched him nearly die multiple times. And he had a heart transplant and he got through it. And the whole time he dealt with that illness, he said to me afterwards, he said, I never once thought I was going to die from this. No. Ever. And I don't know how he kept that positivity. Yeah. No. And I look at people with that sort of positive thinking and I think, fuck, I hope I could be like that, because if it had been my ticker like that my mates was, I think I probably rolled over and fucking died 10 years ago. So you were the same. Yeah. No point in that time did you think, fuck, I'm dying from this? No,
even when I was like at the lowest of my point, I was like, I'm going to get through this. I'm going to be fine.
Because there's people they write books about this shit.
Yeah.
Positive thinking. Yeah. And
I never read a fucking book.
Yeah, but they talk about, like meditation, positive thinking. It's in your head. You've got to think yourself through illnesses. And the people who write those books would say, yeah, Izzy, you cured your cancer with your positivity. So, Yeah, and some people would say, yeah, well, I got through cancer and I was the most negative fucking Nelly.
We had one of those.
Going.
I was sharing a room with another patient and she was a negative Nancy. I remember listening to her mum and her just talking about all the negative things that she had to do and how she didn't want to do this and how she didn't want to get up and walk around. And we ended up complaining and saying,
"We need to get out of this room.
Get me out of this room because this is not this is not the room that I want to be in."
Yeah.
And we were
look. I hope that if I'm ever in that situation, I can get a little bit of your fucking positivity. As a 52-year-old, you seem to have it fucking worked out, or you know what I mean. So I don't know if I could be that positive.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I'm a bit more. I don't know if I'm more pragmatic. I don't know if it's because of the career I've been in.
Yeah.
But that positivity, I admire that fucking positivity.
Yeah, and so now it just sticks with me. Like now, whenever like I look at a shitty situation, like I look at the negatives, and then I'm like, but you know what? Like it's not all negative. It's not the end of the world. And like I say that to my partner, I'm like, he goes through something bad, and I'm like, look at the positives rather than the negatives, and it gets people through everything.
So you've had the transplant, you've gone through the isolation. I remember your dad saying that you couldn't even like eat takeaway. You could only have hot chips that were like overcooked because was that strict, and that was like for 12 months after the transplant.
When we went into Macca's, we used to have to say like, look, she's immunocompromised. Can you double cook the nuggets? And then they'd do it, and it was the best shit ever because it was like
I like burnt stuff.
It was like crispy.
Yeah. So and I want to put that out there to the thousands of listeners that I have on the East Coast Averages. If someone walks into the takeaway joint
and they ask for something,
and you're a kid and you're cooking chips or you're making fucking pizzas,
make sure it's cooked.
And someone comes in and says, "Hey, my daughter's immunocompromised from some chemotherapy. She needs to have the food double cooked."
You double cook that shit.
Fucking double cook it, man. And roll your eyes by all means. But people are probably asking this for a good reason.
Because it saves someone's life. That's what it is. But yeah, no, you say double, like whatever. And then I was severely underweight. I weighed around 57 kilos. And I remember the dietitian telling me that if you don't get above 62 kilos in the next like 2 months, we're going to put a nasal gastric tube back in.
Oh, fucking hell.
And then
what do they just walk around with naso tubes?
Yeah.
Like a whip? Like,
you need one.
Eat that fucking custard. How can you have any pudding if you don't eat your meat?
Yeah. And so like she'd say to me.
Whipping you with fucking NG.
Yeah, I know. Like bang. But you know.
I'm not putting up with that anymore. Fuck that NG tube out of here.
And then they said pretty much if you don't have it, you're going to die from being underweight. And then I'm like, fuck. You're in a children's hospital.
Now, in hindsight, as an 18-year-old, how would you tell your 12-year-old self that if you don't eat, you could die? I think I burped while I was talking there, so I might have to edit that out. You know what I mean? Like, how would you like to have been told that?
Pretty much that if you don't eat sufficient food, that you're not going to get any better and you're just going to hurt yourself more.
You're going to keep getting sicker and sicker.
You're going to keep getting sicker, not turning around and saying, you don't have this, you're just going to die. You're going to die.
Maybe they could say, listen, we're giving you some really top shelf medicine, but you need to help us.
Yeah.
It's a partnership.
Yeah.
We give you the medicine.
It's a trade-off.
Yeah.
But I ended up doing it, which is good. But I think it was kind of hard to maintain that weight for a little bit. And then
was there a point after the transplant where you thought, fuck, I'm going to make it?
Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember sitting in?
It was being told that I had around 98% of my donor's bone marrow that was still left in me.
Is that why you've got a moustache?
Yeah, that's exactly what happens.
Because also, let's go into that because your DNA is different now.
I'm a male, yeah.
So if you do a DNA test on you,
it comes back XX. Is it XX chromosomes? I should know this.
I don't know, but it comes back as a male.
I come back as a male.
So is that going to be a lifelong thing, or do you?
No. So obviously, when I do go for a blood test, more than likely they'd know I'd go for a blood test for a specific reason.
So you'll have to
they'd know.
You'd have to note down that
I've had a bone marrow transplant.
So you can you donate blood?
I can't donate blood products. I can't be an organ donor either.
Why is that?
Because the chances, they don't want to take chances. So there could be like a 0.0001% that there is still that one tiny little
leukemia molecule in there
that's chilling around in my body. And if I give that off to someone, then you could restart the whole process.
Yep.
And that's the one thing that I learned as well is that everyone has the cancer. Everyone has a cancer gene. You just need that one thing to trigger it.
Yeah.
So
I worked with a guy that did cancer research, and he explained that sort of thing to me.
You have a dormant cancer cell.
So So we talk about how cancer forms and that, which we don't know anything about. But I did have a friend who explained it to me. It's more than likely not going to happen.
No.
There is reasons that cause cancer,
like spider bites,
like leukemia, and you've been exposed to certain things that could possibly have caused it, and you might go down that road.
Yeah. But yeah, it could be anything, it's not really a scary kind of thing to think about, because you can go your whole life with obviously
it's more likely not going to happen than it's going to happen.
It's just when the stars align.
Thanks very much.
Yeah.
The old Swiss cheese analogy where all the holes align and fucking go straight through.
Yep, that's exactly how it is. But no.
Do you find that now, like we've just spent maybe an hour talking about your leukemia journey, and I think it's important that if someone's listening to this with a young person going through it,
that it's going to be that
there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, it's always it will be fine. Like obviously you can't make promises in forms of healthcare.
Does it frustrate you that you feel like that's what's the word? Do you feel like that now defines you as a person, that cancer journey?
No.
Because no one would really know, but if you didn't know you.
No. Like I find it good going, especially at uni, like telling my friends for the first time where it's like I had actually been pretty sick. They're like turning around, they're like, what? And so it's good now. Obviously then when my hair was growing back, you could tell that something was off.
Yeah.
I was actually mistaken for a boy. At one stage, I remember
when your hair was short?
I remember going into a doctor's appointment and they're like, oh, is your son on the thing? And I remember looking at them and I'm like, your son. It's like, I'm gonna,
girl.
Yeah, fuck you.
You say, I had cancer.
Yeah.
How bad do you feel now? Call me a boy and I had fucking cancer. Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah.
Won't be enjoying your lunch today, will you?
Yeah.
Did you just give them the stare as you left?
I did, yeah.
They probably still feel bad about that.
I hope they do. Like, really. I really hope they do. Like, you ruined my day that day.
Your day was ruined.
I remember going home and, like, looking at myself and being like, fuck, you look like a dude. But, yeah, no, now I just look like a normal. It sounds, Mum never used to like when I said normal because I was always normal. I was just sick. That's all it was. I was always normal. I just had some extra.
Had a bit of sickness.
Yeah,
and the friends that you lost, did you go to their funerals and that? Or
I did. I went to both of theirs.
Close to home for you? Or?
I have a tattoo now that's here. Yep. I have both of their birth flowers in mine to commemorate them because they were like their mums. They look at me as they used to call me their other daughter.
Yeah.
That's how it was. Yep. And like they stuck. And now, like, we talk with their family sometimes and just all that. Yeah. So, but yeah, no.
Was that sort of hidden from you when you're in the hospital? If someone passed away in the ward?
Yeah, we didn't know.
Did you know that someone had passed away? Like,
no.
Did they hide that? Not hide it, but kept it away from the other patients?
They did. Like, I can't remember any times that someone had passed away. I can't even remember any of the Met calls going off either. Yeah. So I don't know if that they had passed away in a different ward because usually when the kids would get really bad, they'd transfer them up to the ICU.
Yeah.
Or they
That's a whole other fucking subject of seeing, best mate's just gone to ICU, yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking see you later. It's a world that nobody wants to fucking be in, eh?
No.
It's a club that your parents are in. And other parents have had kids that have had these diseases. It's a club you don't want to be in, eh?
No.
And it's some pretty heavy hitting shit. And after talking for an hour, there's some pretty
hefty stuff.
It's pretty heavy, eh?
Yeah.
And like I said, you're still fucking smiling.
Yeah.
And you're laughing.
Yeah.
And the positivity that's coming out of it is, it's like I said, you're like my mate. the fucking most positive person on the planet who was so close to dying so many times and just never fucking once.
I'd pay to look back on everything and see how many times I like really did get close, because then it's like I want to see what I did
to get through it.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
Does it scare you now that it might come back? Or are you at peace with that?
I'm at 5 years post remission now. About to be 6.
Every year goes on.
You
of coming back are less and
after
less.
They say after your 5 years that's when you're officially cured.
Yeah.
Obviously my chances of developing secondary stuff. So it may not be so much that I'll get a relapse. It just might be that if I expose myself to the sun for too long, I'll get skin cancer
because of all the medication and the big hit your immune system took over that treatment.
Yeah,
there's always a little bit.
And then it's like if I became a chain smoker, for instance, I have a higher risk of developing lung cancer. Like you have the statistic of people who start smoking who would develop it, and then you have a statistic of people who have already had cancer and their statistic of developing it. And so it doesn't restrict me from living my teenage life. I go out drinking.
Yeah, you said you were talking to Max before.
Yeah.
You said that you've been told not to overdrink because your liver's taken a fair hit.
Yeah. I've been told not to do some things, but I'm like, sometimes I do want to live a little. I'm not going to let this hold me down. Yep. I'm not going to let it define me. I'm not going to be wrapped in bubble wrap. I just want to go out. I missed that year 7 life. And see, with COVID as well, I actually only did 2 years of high school. Yep. So I missed out on the full first year of year 7. I did a term of year 7. I did 1 term of year 8 because I was out of isolation at the end of year 8. So I did the 1 term of year 8, and then year 9, COVID struck. And then year 10, we kind of went back, and then they said no. And then we went into isolation again. And then year 11, I was at school the whole year. And then year 12, I was at school the whole year.
So you missed out. So that's you missed out school camps, and that's
I did.
What a lot of people even my daughter's still. She still gets upset because all that COVID stuff she missed out on, year 5 camp, year 6 camp.
Yeah.
She did I think she had a year. But there was a lot of stuff, a lot of people missed out on stuff. And then you were sort of just getting out of that treatment, getting back to the real world.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you're fucking in isolation again.
Yeah.
And yet, was there anything sitting back saying, I can do this? I can call it, this isn't isolation, thank you very much, people. Stop whinging. I know what isolation is like.
Yeah. That's what it was. And watching people complain about masks, that's the one thing that really got me. It's people are like, oh, these fucking masks, they're so suffocating. I'm like, I had to wear them all the time that I would go out.
Walk a fucking week in my shoes.
And I couldn't even pull it down behind my nose. It's like if I did that, it's like a criminal. I committed a felony if I did that.
Fucking hell. So it was a big journey, eh? Like I said, that's some pretty heavy hitting shit we'll talk about there.
Yeah.
And I feel like saying if someone's out there listening to it and it triggers them or anything, they need to reach out to someone, their loved one, Lifeline, whoever, the local hospital, GP, and talk to them about it.
But now I'm okay. Am I allowed to say that I'm studying nursing?
Yeah, you can say whatever you like on here.
That's not my secret service. I'm studying nursing because I wanted to
work in oncology.
To work in oncology.
Yep.
Pediatric oncology. I want to give back to the kids and experience what it was like on their behalf and helping these kids and being able to say to them, I understand what you're going through. Yeah. But I'm at uni. I've got a good group of friends.
And your mum said you actually went to the blood bank and thanked them for donating blood because you had a few transfusions.
Oh, she forced me into that though.
Oh, did she? I thought she might have, eh?
It's like her whenever we go into a Japanese restaurant, because we went to Japan, she feels like she needs to say konnichiwa to all of them. I'm like, Mum, fuck, stop.
For God's sake, Mum.
You're such a mum. She's such a Facebook mum. But everything's good. I've got a good life now. I'm pretty happy with how things are going. And yeah.
How often do they do a screening test on you?
Once a year now. And then hopefully it'll go to, I think it's just yearly. Yeah. So I can
get nervous before that, getting the results, or you dealt with it now?
I don't have any fear unless there's indicators. That's when I start to freak out. I got really sick a couple of, last year. I had this thing called adenovirus. And they immediately...
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it. Apparently it's from old people. And
we'll blame that on the 38-year-old from England.
Yeah.
You said he was from England, didn't you?
Yeah, he's from England.
Hang on.
We think he's Prince Harry.
Could be.
Yeah.
Let's go back to that because I remember your dad saying they actually flew a nurse.
They did. They flew my nurse
to
out.
England to take the sample
and then flew it back.
And hand carry it back. And I remember saying to him, wouldn't it be nice to give this dude a free fucking business class trip to Australia, bring him to Westmead Hospital, take it out of him, give him 2 days holiday and send him back first class or something?
Yeah.
As a good on your champ?
Yeah. But instead the nurse, she had a 1-day layover in Europe.
Did she go economy or did she get business, do you know?
I don't know.
Did you know if your life-saving medication travelled business?
I think it was like a private plane as well.
Private fucking plane?
I feel like it might have been because it's carrying blood products. I'm thinking like Grey's Anatomy and like...
Private plane?
Yeah, private plane.
And you know what? That's quite an expensive thing for Medicare to pay, and I'm quite happy that my taxes go...
Towards that, instead of paying for the potholes that never get fixed.
That never get fixed. But you know what I mean? That's what's good about being in it. I guess the whole other conversation about free healthcare for everybody, because it doesn't matter if you're Izzy middle class,
no,
Izzy uber rich,
no,
or Izzy lower socioeconomic. You get the
same amount of healthcare.
As a 12-year-old kid with leukemia, you got the same care as every single person in this country was entitled to.
Well, we worked it out that in America, for kids that have bone marrow transplants, in the millions that they have to pay.
Yeah.
Because they have to pay for the transplant alone, and then on top of that, all the medications and stuff. It's just
crazy.
It's upsetting, and that's the reason why most of the kids unfortunately don't make it out, is that they just can't afford, or unless their families are just stuck in debt for the rest of their lives.
I don't know the ins and outs of the American system,
no.
But from what we get on the news,
what we see is that
I'm happy to pay tax for people to get healthcare they need.
Yeah.
I'm happy that if I have a heart attack now and get an angiogram, it's the same cardiologist that if the Prime Minister had a heart attack in Penrith, the same cardiologist would put a stent in him. And if I came in before him, the same cardiologist would look and go, you know what, he needs it first, so we're going to do him first. And it doesn't matter who you were.
No.
It doesn't matter if you're a homeless dude on the street. If your stent needs to be done before mine, then it'll get done.
Yep.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, eh?
No.
Call me fucking leftist or whatever you want, or socialist, but fuck me, that's living. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm happy to pay tax for that.
No, that's the positives of our healthcare, is that we didn't have to pay, apart from obviously the medication that didn't reach the PBS, but there wasn't that many.
Generally speaking, your treatment didn't.
I hit the safety net in a couple of things.
Yeah.
And then the only thing now is just with the medications that I take now, but it's 1 pill a night.
Yep.
So I'm not
Is that something to do with leukemia, that pill?
Yeah, my hormones.
Oh, okay. So you've got to keep up with that.
Yeah, I have to keep my hormones going. So that's the next little fight that I have to go through, is just making my own little family. That's my next little thing, because unfortunately they hit me just as I started making my own reproductive.
Okay.
So they hit me then, and then that
might have some implications.
Might have some implications later on if I want to have my own kids.
Yeah.
But I'm willing to whenever I get to that, that's when I look after it. But at the moment, I'm just having fun going out drinking every weekend.
Look, I don't want to say you're supposed to do that as 18. It's what I did when I was 18.
It's what I enjoy.
It's what most people do when they're 18.
Yeah.
You need to do it carefully.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be diplomatic and say you shouldn't just go out and write yourself off. No. But hey, that's what
I want to come home at 6 o'clock in the morning, then I'm going to come home at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Don't be scared to ring your parents. And always said to both my kids, if you're out and something bad happens, fucking call me. I'll come and get you.
That's a funny thing. Mum said that and she didn't answer the phone, and we were stranded in Penrith.
Well,
and
you should have rang us then. We would have come and got you.
Yeah, I probably should have. Actually, yeah.
But yeah, no. She's like, I would have come and got you.
She's like, yeah, no, call me. Like, I'll come and get you. Like, I want to make sure you're safe. Well, no, one of our friends dropped us off at Penrith Station, and then we got the train back home, and then Dad picked us up from Hazelbrook Station at like 1 a.m. in the morning. And it's like she doesn't really follow it up.
If you're going to give out that advice, Mum, say ring me anytime, I'll come and get you. Fucking follow it up, mate.
Yeah.
See, Uber's not that much. My young bloke's caught an Uber back from Penrith. It's like $70, which is not huge. It's a lot, but it's not a lot.
Yeah. I don't know. Uber's scary. I'm afraid to get kidnapped. That's what I'm afraid about. I'm sitting there with the app and I'm looking. I'm like making sure that they're going the right way that they're meant to. Yeah. It's like any wrong turn. I'm like, oh, where are you going?
I've actually only been in an Uber once,
twice,
3 times.
They're all so like awkward. And it's always like you have a script that you read. You're like, how you going? And it's like, yeah, good. You're like, busy night.
Yeah, how many times you get in a cab or Uber say, how's your night going, mate? Busy?
Busy night?
Or you get into like a 24-hour survey, pay for fuel. How's your night going, mate? Busy?
Yeah.
Oh, no, pretty quiet.
Yeah.
Quiet for Friday night.
All right, have a good night.
Yeah, good on you, mate. Fucking no worries. I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
That's pretty stupid.
Same shit every time.
It is, eh?
Yeah.
Well, fuck, that's pretty heavy hitting, Izzy, eh? Like I said, that positivity, man. Oh, I was going to ask you, did you become a spiritual person?
Spiritual person. I love rocks.
Did you turn to religion at any point
Oh,
during your illness or spirituality? What was it? Did you think, fuck, I hope there's something out there, or?
I haven't really been one to be super religious. I only turn to those kinds of things in like moments of need where I'll be like, oh, like maybe I should really pray for this. Maybe I need to pray.
Is that when
like,
you're on the driving the porcelain bus saying, get me through this one, God, I'll never drink again?
Yeah.
As opposed to dying of
please make sure I don't throw up in the morning, please. But I'd say like I used to do, it was like rocks, like your rocks and your little,
crystals.
Yeah, crystals. Used to put rose quartz in like my bra and stuff whenever I'd take an exam. You still do that. And my oils, I used to rub it on my temples. But I think it was just mindfulness, just breathing exercises. Yeah. That's the only thing that I'd say worked. And
I wonder where you got your positivity from, eh? You've always been a happy kid.
We've always
You've never been an unhappy kid.
No, we've never been, and like our family alone has never been negative. Like we've always been really, really positive. And so I think it was just the influence of my family.
Yeah.
And then me maturing and just realizing that tomorrow isn't promised. Yep. And so you got to literally just live every day like it's your last.
I think I might be speaking out of watch, I'm going to edit it out, but I think your dad said to me one time, you said, it doesn't matter how long you live, but it's how you live.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a pretty profound statement to come from a 16-year-old, eh?
Yeah.
Like that's from a 16-year-old that's going through been through.
Yeah. It doesn't.
They give you edge and back.
You just got to live it. Just live it a little. Say I love you to everyone.
So that's the advice you'd give?
Yeah.
The end of episode advice from Izzy?
Say I love you to everyone because every time you say goodbye to someone, make sure to just hug them that little longer because tomorrow they might be in a hospital bed.
Yeah.
Which isn't a good thing.
It's not fucking good. So let's finish off the episode by talking. Right. Let's talk about something you're happy, Izzy.
Happy. What's happy?
Let's go back to after the break where you said you like to smell your own fart.
Okay. That's a little bit
Let's go
exaggerated.
From dying to smelling your own fart.
It's not like people can back me up on this. Like I sent a message to my boyfriend the other day, right? And I go, I just did the best fart ever. And then he was like, yeah. And then he was like, do you kind of like fuck with it a little bit? It's like, yeah. So like it's like not just me.
How do you fuck with a fart, mate?
So especially, oh fuck.
How the fuck?
Have you ever like had a bath?
Excuse me, I'm fucking with this fart. Leave me alone.
Have you ever had a bath?
Hang on, Mum. I'll be there in a minute. I'm just fucking with this fart.
No. Like when you have a bath and like you fart and it bubbles up and it kind of has a different kind of tang to it.
I don't have
It's kind of like warm. It's kind of warm or whatever. Especially ones where like you're like on the verge of going
shitting yourself.
Yeah. And you can like.
You can smell it. See, I reckon after I've had a big feed of Kentucky Fried Chicken, if you fart, it smells like Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Oh, no, mine's Chinese.
Yeah,
Chinese food. Yeah. Chinese food gets me going. Like, that's when I can, like, sit under the covers.
So you're a wafter?
No, it's just, you know how, like...
I hate to tell you, mate, you're a wafter.
Oh, fuck.
You're waft. Just admit it. Come out of the closet, mate.
Oh, I don't want
to. Come on, be amongst us.
I don't. A what?
Be amongst us.
Amongst wafters. Us. I think you said a monster.
No, be amongst other wafters.
Us. Are you a wafter?
Oh, I'm a fucking.
Oh, thank God. I feel like I was being judged then.
No, there's no fucking judgment. There's two people in the world, mate: wafters and liars.
Yeah, whoever lies that they don't fuck with their fart.
Yeah, I've never heard it described as fucking with your fart.
Yeah, I fuck with it. I fuck with it heavy. That's how you say it.
Oh, fuck. I'm getting too old. Fucking how you young people speak.
Yeah, like you see something cool and you're like, oh, damn, like I fuck with that heavy.
I don't even know what that means, mate.
You like really fuck with I don't know how to explain it any other way, mate.
So what's a do you go out in the city with your uni mates? What's a night out?
I haven't yet. We are planning hopefully maybe next week, maybe.
Is there a big drinking culture at uni now? Like, is there uni bars that have
there are a couple of uni bars
and stuff like that?
Yeah, there is. It's just unfortunate because the travel down there for me is hectic, and I hate driving in the city because I have this irrational fear of red light cameras.
Yeah.
And
I was driving through the city one day, going somewhere, and I pulled up. I was turning left.
Yeah.
I'm fucking sitting there, and the light went green, and the car in front wasn't moving. I'm thinking, come on, fucking move, mate.
Yeah.
It was a parked car. Fucking parked car. I was like, I'm thinking, fuck, get it, come on, mate. There's a green light.
Did you beep him?
And I didn't beep him.
Oh, my God.
And then I think Kez said, that's a parked car, Nick.
Yeah, no, I hate driving in the city, but like with them, I said, is it okay if we can meet halfway? Because it's only fair. Like they live in the northern beaches, and I'm like, I'm not driving a fucking.
And the other thing is too, like getting home afterwards.
Oh,
that's a big.
And like I want to drink
issue
as well.
Yeah.
And if I'm driving, I can't drink.
No.
And then if I want to drink,
zero.
Yeah, and they live down there, and I'm the only one that lives up here. And so then it's like if I drink, then I have to go home by myself.
Yep.
On the public transport.
Yeah,
and
which is not.
It's not really good.
Look, you're probably safe, but as a parent, I would say
No.
I'd rather you didn't.
No.
Yeah.
I don't want to. That's
if your parents took the fucking bowls off their wallet, charged you to Uber home or something.
I think they would.
So what you should do is you should call in. You know how your mum said, anytime you're in trouble is, you fucking ring me, I'll come and get you.
Yeah.
So, you know what, go out in the city and fucking call that favour in.
No.
At about 1 a.m, say, hey, mum, remember that you said if I ever got stranded, I could ring you?
I'm in
and you'd
Chippendale.
come and get me?
I'm in Chippendale right now.
I'm in Chippendale.
Come and get me.
I'm outside of this bar. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Can you either come and get me or shout me in an Uber?
Yeah. Yeah.
Fucking call it in, mate. Put it to the test.
But now I don't really have to because if I want to go out, I can just call up my partner and be like, hey, come get me. So I'm thinking about doing that next week. I'm going to be like, come down to Blacktown.
What about your uncle? Go and stay at his house. He lives in the city.
But see, it's like I have a couple of other people as well that have said that I can go stay with them. But the issue is that he lives on the other side of the beach. And so I'd have to give a ferry over or I'd have to get a bus. Yeah. Whereas...
And it's all public transport late at night.
Yeah.
And that.
And not on a Saturday night either.
Yeah.
It scares me a little bit.
Yeah, fair enough. I don't like catching public transport home. Like I said, there's a whole mix of people on those trains.
Oh, there's a different breed of people.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
I don't know. Some of the weirdest conversations I had as a 16 and 17-year-old was on that train, the Blue Mountains trains, talking to people. And I spoke to people who, I recall some of them had been in jail, some were drug addicts, and they all had advice to give to you. I don't know if I just had a face where someone, they wanted to tell me their life story, but they would just fucking tell me. And I don't know if that's like a standard thing. But all these people be saying, oh, yeah, I'm on drugs or I just got out of jail. I remember one day Bernard had some sneakers and he said, oh, if you're ever in jail, mate, you'll have to fight for those sneakers. And I'm like 15 years old thinking,
I'm like, all right.
the fuck?
Okay.
I'm thinking, fuck, and I'm getting off at the next stop.
Yeah. I
remember one day someone had a heroin overdose on the train.
Oh, fuck.
I was probably 14 or 15. I remember them all yelling, friends going, walk it. They're making this chick walk around the train because she obviously needed Narcan or something.
Yeah.
They're walking her. They're going, walk it off. This chick's like, like unconscious, and they're like making her walk through the train. I'm like, he's little old 15 or 16-year-old heading down the Blue Mountains thinking, what the fuck is going? What do you mean walk it off? What's going on out there? But I look back now. I didn't really know at the time. Look back now, there was probably a heroin overdose.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So you see some strange.
There's some there's some trippers on the train, especially now commuting.
And I always, when my daughter gets on the train, she always rolls her eyes when I give her all the warnings. She rolls her eyes. Says, yes, I know, Dad.
I was like, Mum never used to let me catch the train. And now I'm like, can you, like, whatever? Can you, like, not tell me to get out of fucking... Like, remember that time you said that you could take me out of this world? Like, just put me back in again. Like, do it right now because I can't deal with commuting. Oh, my God. Commuting to uni? Holy shit.
It's pretty rough on the...
Oh, it's so, like, going down in the morning, it's fun. I'm like, fuck yeah, like, uni student, so excited. And then on the way home, I'm like...
Yeah, tired.
Just want to get home.
Yep. You do much of your assignments?
I have been. On the way down, it's good because I can do all the stuff prior to the class, and then once I get in there, I can actually listen. And then on the way back, just trying to catch up on all the work, it's so fucking hard.
Yep. Well, it's hour and 45 minutes we've been talking.
Fuck yeah.
You've got it pretty interesting. You've been through something that not many people go through, especially not young people.
Not young people.
Yeah.
No.
And I'm glad that come and chat to me about it because,
You're
like
welcome.
I said, you're pretty positive.
You're welcome.
And there was a few things like I said, like me, mate, I look at you and think, fuck, I'm not sure how you stay that positive.
I don't know how I do it.
All that adversity
I don't know
in
how
life.
I do it.
And hopefully, with nursing, you'll get some kids through it, eh?
Oh, yeah.
Because they'll be looking at you going, what would you fucking know as you're trying to put the NG tube down?
And I'm like,
you'll say, excuse me, missy?
I do actually
I fucking do actually know.
Yeah.
Get this tube down and we'll sit down and have a chat and I'll tell you what I fucking went through.
That's the whole point.
Why do you think I've got a ginger beard? Why do you think they call me the fucking bearded lady?
Why do you think I got a bit of a pommy accent now?
I really like Guinness and soccer for some reason.
And soccer. Fuck. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so when if you ever meet up with your transplant person, come back and chat about it, see how it was.
Yeah. If you just want me on it in general, bro. This is so much fun.
Come and do a Max and Me episode.
That's what Mum said to do. Mum said come and do a Max and Me episode.
Yeah, because it's good having, because I don't know, you guys.
You need someone to mediate you too. So I'm starting to think that you need a fucking intervention or something.
Yeah, I saw a TikTok the other day where a lady was saying, I can't believe I gave birth to a miniature. I was happy I gave birth to a miniature of myself so I can spend my life fighting, arguing with them. And that's Max, eh?
Yeah.
I've dead set fathered the absolute miniature version of me.
You and Mum have done it together.
And that's fucking why. And I think Abby might be a miniature version of me as well. Aren't you, Abs?
Yeah.
So this East Coast Averages, it's a pretty low-key event. I do it in my spare room.
Pretty good.
And now I'm just fucking prattling on with shit. Last bit of advice, Izzy, before we wrap it up to everybody. 18-year-old Izzy, what do you tell people?
That farts actually smell pretty good.
Well, that's not the advice.
No.
That's the advice you want to give. Farts. Fuck with your farts.
Fuck with your fart. Fuck.
If that's how you want to end it.
Fuck with it heavy.
Fuck with your farts heavy.
Yeah.
Whatever that means.
Exactly. But also smile through it.
Smile through
You'll be okay.
Well, thanks for coming, Izzy.
You are welcome.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
I will.
Thanks for listening to that episode. Just want to put a shout out to everyone out there, and I'm going to do this myself this week or next week. I'm going to go to the doctor or the blood bank, and I'm going to have a blood test taken and put myself on the bone marrow registrar, so that maybe one day I'll get the tap on the shoulder and I can help someone like Izzy. So if anyone out there can do anything, take anything from that story, we need to go and get tested, go on the registrar, and hopefully save someone's life, like that 38-year-old rando in England who, for whatever reason, signed up on a blood marrow transplant register and has saved the life of a young girl thousands of kilometres away in another country. Perfect match. As Izzy said, could be Prince Harry, who knows? Maybe the age fits, but yeah, let's all go out and get on the register. And when you have, send me an email at info@eastcoastaverages.com to let me know that you've signed up for the bone marrow register. I will report back in a couple of episodes when I've done that, so I will make myself accountable to you guys that I've actually gone and done it. You can visit my website, www.eastcoastaverages.com. Come back next week. There'll be another episode dropping as they do every Friday at 7 a.m.